Well, hello, my dear friends. Welcome back once again to Blind Dad Does. My name is Ira, and I hope you're having a really good day. I need to kind of adjust my mic here a little bit, I think. Didn't realize that before starting. But anyways, hello, and I hope your day is going good. My day is going good. I just got done streaming about an hour and a half ago, and I decided, well, you know what? I'm coming back online and having a little bit more fun with you guys. So hopefully you guys are ready to have a little bit more joy in your life. Yes, because why? I'm a fun person. Yay. Or something like that. Yeah. Anyways, so earlier tonight, we were talking about all kinds of things under the sun. We were talking about like underrated TV shows, underrated, movies, on and on and on, science fiction, Star Trek, all kinds of good stuff. And today we wanted to talk a little bit more about that kind of stuff too. Give me 1 second. I do need to adjust my mic just a little bit. Sorry about this. There we go. Now it's sitting a little bit better in my face. I was having to lean over a little bit too far, and that kind of gets a little bit uncomfortable to somebody who has back problems. Yes, indeed. So, yeah, tonight's topics, we're going to kind of talk about whatever you guys want. It's one of those ask me anything nights, and we can talk about, well, basically anything under the sun. I don't mind that either way. But a couple of the things that I wanted to discuss are mutant superpowers. If you guys had a mutant superpower, what would it be? I'm very curious, and we'll go into that one here in just a little while. And, talking about music, talking about underrated things, what are your top 10 favorite songs of all time? If you guys can think of it, what would you say would be your go-to list of favorite songs ever? I'm always curious about that. I love music and everything about it.
It's so fabulous.
It is indeed fabulous. And by the way, I also wanted to make sure to get this in here too.
Oh, I love you. I love you.
I do love you indeed, and I thank you guys for tuning in and sticking around with me. So, a little bit about me. Yes, I am a blind guy. I do have vision issues. The main problem that I have is a genetic defect called Keratoconus. It is a terrible one. It's one that I was diagnosed with a long time ago, and have been living with for a number of years now. The main thing regarding keratoconus that is a little bit on the rough side, and I'll put a link in the chat for you guys if you're curious about what the whole thing is. It's sort of the link to the wiki, although it doesn't really cover everything regarding it. But basically it comes down to my eyes are pyramid shaped instead of egg shaped, and that can make things a very fun experience. One of the side benefits of having keratoconus and having the pyramid shaped eyeballs is the fact that my peripheral vision is outstanding. I feel like I'm one of those goats where I can see almost in 360 degrees. So like I have my hand way back here and I can actually still see my hand, and I can tell what it's doing and all that kind of stuff, besides the fact that it is actually connected to my body and still functional and all of that kind of good stuff. I can actually see it when it's way over there to the side. Now my kids didn't like that fact because I could see what they were doing before anybody else could, because I was they had trouble sneaking around me. I could always tell what was going on and what they were doing, whether they liked it or not, which always makes things fun when you're dealing with things as a parent. But anyways, so another side problem with this, and this goes into the whole mutant superpowers thing, is that there is kind of like a thing where your other senses do take over a little bit more. And so one of the thoughts is that to people who maybe aren't accustomed to it, or who aren't aware of how things work, if one of your senses does go bad or go away, such as going blind or losing your hearing or things like that, your other senses, they don't become superpowers. Okay. But what ends up happening is that you pay more attention to them. So for me with my vision, even though my eyes are bad, I don't have like a heightened sense of hearing or sense of touch or anything like that, but I pay more attention to those things. So my hearing is quote unquote better because I'm more focused on what I'm hearing or what I'm feeling when something touches me or whatever. The only thing I would say has almost become a mutant superpower for me in regards to my blindness is my sense of smell. Anybody that's ever seen the show Psych, Gus, the partner to Sean, has what they term the super sniffer. And I'll tell you, I mean, mine's about that way. It really is. Mine is super sensitive. I can smell a lie like a fart in a car. I mean, it's like I can tell what's going on. So like just last week, we had this incident at the house where my wife was trying to cook something and she turned the burner on the stove on, but it didn't actually end up kicking all the way on. So the fire didn't end up actually lighting. So a few minutes after that happened, like I'm in the bedroom getting my stuff ready, prepped, ready for my stream and all of that kind of good stuff. And I started smelling the gas and I knew something was up, but I couldn't figure out exactly what, but I could smell it. And so I wandered out to see what was going on. And lo and behold, yeah, the burner wasn't actually lit, but the thing was kicked on. So, I had her turn the fan on real quick, turned the gas off, and hoped that nobody would, light a spark or something like that to make us all go explodey. But thankfully nothing like that did happen. But it's funny because some people are sensitive to the smell of gas and some people aren't. For me, I've always been really sensitive to it, but other people, they're just, for whatever reason, they just have a deadened sensitivity to it. My wife happens to be one of those people. Like she was right there in the middle of that gas and didn't even notice it. Like didn't even notice that it was happening. So yeah, it's kind of weird. But for trivia's sake, they do add in, like the natural gas itself doesn't actually have much of an odor. So they add in the smell of rotting flesh to make it so that people will be able to pay more attention to it. Kind of one of those weird things that they've done for science or whatever you want to say. So, but anyways, so that would be what I would consider my superpower is the weird sense of smell that I have, which is terrible, on nights when the house has chili to eat. It's not always a great superpower, but it's there. Anyways, I hope everybody out there is having a good night. So, other mutant superpowers, there are a lot of different possibilities, and I'd love to know what you guys think would be the one that you would end up with, whether that's like good or bad or ugly. Sometimes thinking ironically for the superpowers is kind of interesting. What one would you quote unquote tongue in cheek luck out having? Yeah, my super sniffer would probably be one of them. So going with one of the things that we were talking about earlier tonight, as far as like the artificial intelligence situation is concerned, I think that when it comes to AI, we as humans, we have to be very careful about what we're doing with the AI that we're creating. We don't want to ultimately create our own artificial intelligence AI overlords, but we may very well be on the track to doing that. Right now, some of the different AI that's out there, they are working to put it into places that would be otherwise, I think, very difficult for people to accept. So, for instance, some of the weapon systems that are here in the United States, they're starting to kind of shift it over so that it's being more and more controlled by computer systems instead of being controlled by human beings. that can be problematic, because if, for instance, if anybody has watched science fiction movies and have seen The Terminator, you would understand that's probably not the best idea in the world, right? But that's what they're doing. It's like, as a sci-fi writer myself, I can imagine all kinds of horrible scenarios that can come about because of such a thing. It's not really maybe the best idea in the world, but it is coming up, I guess. Something that we really do need to be careful of, something that we really do need to be aware of, So, I don't know. Very concerning, though. Very concerning. But anyways, trying to figure out, I've got one of my buttons has kind of gone a little badly here, and I'm trying to figure out why that might be the case. Give me just a second here. Sorry. Okay, there. I think I've got it fixed now. Okay, anyways. So again, tonight is kind of like an Ask Me Anything sort of a night. We're going to talk about, all kinds of different things, but mostly, how's your day been? How's it going? I'm very curious. One of my favorite things to do is talk about like psychology and some of the issues that people can have, or ways to try to fix the issues that people have. A lot of people are very concerned about the way that their minds work, especially when they feel like they've kind of lost control of things, which is it's a terrible situation to have. When I was younger, a lot of my attitudes about myself were there because it was programmed into me. I was raised by a whiskey drunk. I was raised by a neglectful mother. The family that I was raised with was, nothing but drunkards and thieves. And then I ended up getting into one relationship after the other where the person that I was with was extremely abusive towards me. And it's like I almost got myself programmed to automatically assume that people were going to always think of me as being a target, as being a punching bag, for lack of better words, whether that's emotionally, physically, or not. And so it took me a while to figure out that isn't actually the case. Like, I didn't have to live with that kind of thing upon myself, even though it was very difficult for me to change my mind around with it. So one of the things that I did, and this is going to get a little weird, okay, but one of the things that I did to try to get my mindset in general changed, and I wanted to give it to you guys as well to maybe see if this would work for you, is to spend a week acting as if both of your thumbs were missing. So, anything that you do, any writing, driving, whatever the case may be, do it safely, of course, but when possible, do everything with the thought in the mind of, I don't have thumbs. So I have to figure out new ways to do things without the thumb being there. And it may sound weird. Okay. It may sound weird. I know, I get it. It's very bizarre, right? But the reason why it works is because it makes your mind concentrate on other things. It has to change in some kind of way to accommodate this new life that you're living. Okay. It's going to try to figure out new pathways within itself. Literally new pathways are getting created in the synapses in your brain. So when that occurs, it gives actually an opportunity. And I know, again, it sounds weird, but it does give an opportunity for the rest of everything that's inside of you to alter as well, or to at least make it possible to do so. You know, some people get so caught up in mindsets and different things going on in their life that it's very difficult for them to shift into something else, or to let go of the things that are haunting them. So, you know, acting as if you have no thumbs, it really can make, oddly enough, a very big difference in how you progress forward and how you think. Because you have to be very mindful, quote unquote, of it being there. You know what I mean? And it can be fun too. You know, that's the other part of it too, is that it can be a fun thing to do. And sometimes, I mean, you just have to have like the most random fun moments to allow yourself to have a change happen. Again, sometimes we get so caught up in those dark things that we don't have the ability to see beyond that darkness. So, you know, maybe having those few fun moments here and there can help to elevate the endorphins going on, you know, the dopamine flow. And, you know, when you accomplish the task of whatever it is that you're doing without your thumb, you know, suddenly now that reward thing goes through the brain. And it, you know, there's a lot of different things that can end up coming about because you started to do just that little small change of mindset. So that's what I ended up doing in my 20s. I started to kind of do that sort of thing to make it so that my brain would twist around in other ways. And that's when I started to break away from a lot of the things that were on me, that were haunting me. So I got away from the family members that were toxic to me. I dropped them like hot bricks. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. And I didn't want my kids to have anything to do with them either. You know, again, I was raised around these people and it was a horrible experience. I didn't want to put my kids through that. So, you know, I knew I needed to get away from them, but I was also, ironically enough, taught by the same people who were so toxic to me that I could never leave them. Isn't that weird, right? That's usually how it ends up going. You know, we're kind of taught that we cannot leave them, even though we know that that's the one thing that we need to do in our lives to make a difference. The irony is not lost on me. You know what I mean? I've been through it. I know. So, you know, one of the things that I try to get across to people when I'm talking about this kind of a topic is, look, just because you're saddled with somebody genetically, it doesn't mean that you have to have anything to do with them. You can walk away from it all and not have that be such a big influence on your life. It's very hard. Don't get me wrong. It is difficult to do. And sometimes, you know, if you're too young, you know, to break out on your own or anything like that, you know, well, I mean, don't just run away, you know, just try to do what you can to bear it until the moment when you can make that escape. When you can make that break and say enough is enough. You know, some people might have to wait till they're 18 before they can finally tell their parents, you know what, you've been terrible people to me and I never want to have anything to do with you again, you know? And there's nothing wrong with doing that. If that is the case, if it's a situation that you're in where it's abusive or toxic or whatever the case may be, just, you know, bear it until you can grin and bear it, I guess, you know, or grit your teeth and bear it as much as you can. By grinning, that's usually what it means, is you're gritting your teeth so hard. You know, I worked retail for a number of years. I understand the "may I help you, sir" mentality. So it's just the way it is. But you know, sometimes we have to just bear it until we can get away from it. And then when we get away from it, we don't ever have to look back at it, you know? So anyways, for those of you guys just joining in, my name is Ira. This is Blind Dad Does. Tonight, Blind Dad is doing, well, just conversing about whatever happens to come to mind. Mutant superpowers. What mutant superpower would you have? Even if that is kind of like ironically, what super mutant power would you have? For me, it'd probably be my super sniffer. I can smell things like crazy now that my vision has been lost as much as it has. It's insane how much I smell things, and sometimes it's not to the best effect. Maybe another one of my superpowers would be I would be the doughboy, shoving my sugary pastries into the face of crime, something along those lines. Just kind of, poof, I can make a pastry appear in my hand. Great. Well, I've got diabetes. That'd probably be my superpower. That'd be my luck. That would be just my luck. So what would you guys have? I'm very curious about it. I'm nosy. It's just who I am. So anyways, we were also earlier talking about top 10 songs, and I'm very curious as to what you guys would consider to be your top 10 songs. My favorite song ever is Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. And it's because the music is really good, like the song itself is really good, but the song itself also has a really deep kind of like emotional hit for me, because I did have at one time during my teen years and my early 20s an addiction to drugs. Not like heroin and that kind of stuff. Thankfully, I never got involved in injecting or sniffing anything. But I did a lot of other things, and some of the things did some damage to me. Unfortunately, it's just the way that it is. It's the price we pay for our entertainment purposes sometimes. But when I first encountered Pink Floyd, like, I did enjoy the music, but not as much as what I do now. Like, as I've gotten older, I appreciate the music that they created a little bit more. Maybe because I have like a better feel for what they're talking about in most of the songs. And probably, I mean, just over the years, I've kind of gotten more of a feel, an addiction, so to speak, to like progressive rock, and like rock operas and concept albums and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of like one of my go-tos. See, I'm an author, right? So I love anything that has to do with storytelling, and concept albums are kind of like the ultimate expression of musical storytelling. They have this overarching theme within the whole album or within the series of songs that are part of the concept. And to me, that's really cool. If you can tell a story in a short period of time, such as through a song, as opposed to sitting and reading an entire book, that takes practice, that takes talent, that takes something special to do. In fact, one of the things that I love to do when it comes to writing is doing flash fiction. Flash fiction is basically where you're trying to tell as much of a story as possible within about 500 words or less. And 500 words really isn't all that much. It's very tiny comparatively. Your average short story is usually anywhere between 3,000 and 20,000 words, depending on the story. But flash fiction, to me, is a really good practice as a writer, because it makes it important to condense everything as much as possible within a very short period of time. And the more you can do that, the better I think the readers can react. Some years ago, I encountered Stephen King. I met him at a party, and I got a chance to ask, like, what one piece of advice would you give to somebody who's trying to write? And what he told me has kind of like it's really stuck with me over the years. It was that you have to grab the reader by the throat with your teeth in the first sentence, or you've lost them and you may as well not have written it. And he's right in a lot of ways, and it not only affects like writing, like writing a book or writing a story, but it affects a lot of things in life. So music, for instance, it's the same way. If you don't catch the listener's attention and desires and hitting them in all of those emotional points within the first few moments of the song, then most people are going to turn it off. They're going to turn away, or they're going to change the station on the radio, or whatever the case may be. They're just going to walk away from it, you know? So that's, it fits with a lot of different aspects of life, really, all the way around. Not only in creativity, but in like how you encounter people in general. You know, if you meet somebody, they always say that first impression is the most important thing. And that's what this comes down to. You know, if you haven't gripped them in that first moment, then you may as well walk away from it or whatever, because most people aren't going to give you a second chance if you've made a bad first impression. So these things are, like, to me, fun to think about. What can I do to change things or to tweak things so that people will have a better time, or have a funner time, or be more interested in the stories that I write, or the things that I'm doing, like on the streams or the games that I play and that kind of thing. What can I do to get the attention from that person in that moment in time, so that we can have like a more in-depth relationship from there. That is one thing about writing to me, is that my readers, I feel I'm building a relationship with them. And I think that that's something that a lot of writers don't necessarily have in their mind when they're writing. Most people, when they write something, they're expecting, okay, this is just going to be something that I'm going to turn around and sell, try to make money off of, so on and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. I mean, if you do work, if you do, you know, these kind of things to make it so that you're an entertainer or whatever the case may be, you should get paid for it. You know, you should earn your keep from it. But you're also really, when it breaks down to things, you're building a relationship with the person who is reading the story that you're writing. And I don't think that enough writers are really conscious of that enough to know, like, how much of an impact they are having on somebody when that story gets read. A lot of people, I think, I don't know what's the best way I can put this, abuse that privilege, I guess you could say, of knowing that this person is hooked into the writing. You know, it's important to treat that with an attitude of gratitude. Even if, you know, if you're writing a horror story, you might not think that that's something that should be a thing, but it really, when it comes down to it, should be. You should have, like, the gratitude to know that the person that's there in front of you, or they're reading your story, or they're listening to your audiobook, or whatever the case may be, you should have like an attitude of gratitude as to the sacrifice of time that the person is giving you. And that is definitely one thing that I try to express here on these streams, is that I am very well aware of the sacrifice of time that you guys are giving to me to be here in this moment in time. It makes me, it humbles me to know that in this moment, you're with me and we're sharing this energy together. It's important to me that you realize I know this. Okay. So take that as you will, you know, take that as you will. But I'm deeply grateful for the fact that that you are here. So again, going back to the songs thing, Comfortably Numb is definitely way up there, number one, as far as my favorite songs goes, because the story that's being told, not only on the whole Wall album, but the story that's being told within that singular song is something that touches me deeply, because I've lived through a similar experience back in my younger days. Now, thankfully, I've gotten away from the drugs and stuff, and I never got into alcohol at all. I kind of avoid that stuff like the plague, because again, I was raised by a whiskey drunk. And when you get raised by somebody that's like that, you're going to go one direction or the other. You're either going to be someone who never touches it at all, which is the case with me, or you're probably going to end up becoming an alcoholic yourself. It's just the way it is. It's very rare to have somebody that is a moderate, a person who drinks in moderation, moderately, just once in a while or whatever the case may be, if they've been through that situation. It's unfortunate, but again, it's just kind of like human psychology. We tend to either have an aversion or an attraction, So, anyways, so Comfortably Numb, definitely number one. I think that as far as other songs goes, my second favorite is a song, and this is like another kind of underrated thing. There is a band. It's actually a single person, but it's classed as a band called Ayreon. Ayreon is sort of an interesting bug in and of itself. So the group Ayreon was created by a guy named Arjen Lucassen, who he's a prog rock guy. He's been around for a very long time, and for a long number of years now, this Ayreon project that he has is about putting out concept albums. And again, I'm into concept albums, so this kind of like already triggers a big cue for me, right? But the albums also are telling a sci-fi story about how an alien race has basically created us human beings for the sole purpose of recognizing and remembering what emotions actually are, because they have destroyed their own capacity for feeling emotions. So they're trying to learn it all over again. These ageless, forever beings are trying to figure out what emotions are. And so one of the songs that's within this whole concept is a song called Pain, and it's off of the Human Equation album. And this song, it's so again, Ayreon is kind of a different animal, because the whole project involves multitudes of different singers and artists coming from other bands that are very popular, to come and be guests on these albums put out by Ayreon. And so for instance, on the Human Equation, they have like James LaBrie, who is the lead singer of Dream Theater, another one of my favorite bands. He's actually playing one of the lead parts in this whole storyline. Devin Townsend is involved with it. He plays the part of Pain. So, Anger. He plays the part of Anger, Rage. And, so within these albums, basically each of the singers that come in to do the guest spot plays a different part within the story. So on the Human Equation, there is a singer that represents each of the emotions that are being felt within the concept album. One of the other albums, 0100, basically it's the binary code for Y, the letter Y. That album, there again are a number of different singers. There's Fleur Jensen, there's Hansi Kirsch, again James LaBrie. There's just an epic crap ton of different artists that are involved with it. And each of them plays a different part of like these forever aliens, trying to decide whether or not it's the right thing to do to create humanity, just to explore the fact that they need to learn the emotions. So it's all an interesting kind of thing. But this particular song called Pain off of the Human Equation album, to me is an extremely potent song. It's disturbing on some levels, because what it's talking about is that it's the emotion of pain talking to the man who is feeling the emotions, and pain is trying to describe that there is no way that he can ever escape from his pain, because it is such an integral part of himself. It's what makes up everything about him and how he looks at the world. It's done through the lens of pain. And so the song itself, it's both deeply impactful on an emotional level, but also on a storytelling level, because again, you have all of these artists that are involved with it, and the music itself is just, it's amazing. It really is. It's just it's something special. So I would highly recommend, if you've never heard of it, Arion Pain, definitely look it up. They have the full video on YouTube and stuff. In fact, that is one thing that I'm very impressed by with Arion, is that they have made almost all of their albums actually available through their YouTube channel to listen to whenever you want for free. Or you can go out and buy the DVD or the CD or whatever the case may be. That to me is really cool. You know, that's something different. You can tell that the artists themselves are something different if they're doing that kind of a thing. That's a rarity. It really is. In this age of DMCAs, you know, that kind of a thing is a super rare thing. So, anyways, yeah. So to me, you know, that is one of the best songs I think I've ever really encountered. It's really cool. So yeah, there you go. Let's see what else would be on my list of top 10 songs. Well, let's go with Dream Theater. So again, Dream Theater, another prog. You're gonna find a lot of prog bands on this list, I'll tell you. But you know, it's another one of my favorite prog artists or group of artists. Dream Theater has been around for many years now, and they've put out a lot of albums, and most of them are concept albums in one way or another. So one of their songs in particular, I ended up encountering at random. Like, I had never actually heard of Dream Theater before I encountered them at random one time. I was at a garage sale, and somebody had a set of discs, you know, set of CDs that they were selling, and they were only selling them for like $1. And the art on the album kind of attracted me. I was curious about it. I'm like, okay, well, this is different, interesting. And so I grabbed it, and it was this Dream Theater album, which was called Awake. The album itself is from the Awake. So the song in particular that's on this album that really resonated with me hard is one called Space Dye Vest. Now, I know that's a really weird title for a song, but Space Dye Vest is basically, it's kind of like a weird breakup song, and yet a transformative song. And I do wish that we didn't have the whole DMCA thing so I could play this music for you, because it's really good. And I think that it's something that people would seriously enjoy listening to. But again, if you're interested in something really special, look up on YouTube, look up on Google, whatever the case may be. The artist, again, Dream Theater, and the song called Space Divest. Hey, Mark. Yep, still on. Actually, I just started again about an hour ago. I've been on for about an hour. So no, I'm not doing any games tonight. Unfortunately, my eyes have been a little bit on the painful side today. So I'm just kind of like sitting here chatting because I can't squint good enough to be able to see what I'm doing in any of the games that I would love to play. So that's why I'm like just doing this right now. But we're kind of talking about what mutant superpowers do you think that you would end up having if you encountered the fact that you would have a superpower? What one would you end up with? No flashing lights. Yeah, no, it's a thing where my eyes are like swollen and leaking. So like I can't see what I'm doing with it well enough at all. It would actually cause me a lot of pain to try to play something right now. So unfortunately, I have to be out of it now right now. Hopefully I'll be back at it tomorrow though. The power to have all the superpowers, that would be an interesting one. That would be an interesting one. Do you think that you would use it for good or evil though? That would be the big question. Mine may be something weird like the lazy boy, you know. That would probably be mine. Maybe the wonder trip, you know, able to stumble and fall in the face of crime, and you know, them stopping and laughing at me would probably be you know, pretty good as far as being a crime fighter. Laughing at my fails. But yeah, having all the superpowers, that'd be an interesting one, definitely. I'm weird. I think about the weird off the wall superpowers that might be, you know, what people would end up ironically with for one reason or another. We were also talking about like top favorite songs, and I was kind of going through my list of my own personal ones. Like my number one favorite song is Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. I love that song. I love what it means to me in particular, because I used to be addicted to drugs and stuff, and then I finally got away from it, and so that song kind of hits me in a bit of a different way than somebody who's never experienced that kind of thing might. But the superpowers maybe come from the Bible. Well, I mean, there is that, yes. In Corinthians, it talks about the different spiritual gifts that you can get when the Holy Spirit descends upon you, and there's a list of them there and more. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like maybe where the concept started to come from with it all. Yep. So I was going into one of my other songs here. The song is called Space Divest by Dream Theater, which to me is a really potent song. It's an awesome one. I mean, not necessarily in religion. I mean, hero stories have been around since, like, I think the beginning of humanity in one way, shape, or form. You know, we've always had like this this concept that, you know, we need somebody that's outside of ourselves to help ourselves. And I think that's where kind of like the whole thing of heroes sort of got developed. And no, not just particularly Christianity. It's like almost every story that can be told can be broken down into the story of a hero's journey, really. You don't have a favorite one. Okay, gotcha. There's a few, not necessarily favorites, but it's like the ones that hit me the hardest, the most frequently when I listen to them, would be those. So another one would be I can't remember who the artist is. It's like maybe Antonio Bocelli, maybe. Time to Say Goodbye. It's I can't really understand most of the words because it's in Spanish, but like the song itself, the beauty of the song itself just really hits me very hard. I love it. Love it. Another one for me would be a song by Devin Townsend called Kingdom, which is another super like powerful, almost a breakup song in some kind of ways, but it's like the feelings that are in it of this man who's like lamenting what his relationship with his wife or his girlfriend has become. It's really hard hitting, really. And the music itself is really good. The Devin Townsend, his kind of go-to shtick, I guess you could say, is that he hits you with what he calls the wall of sound. So there's always like this full range of frequencies that are going on with the music, that, you know, kind of people that listen to it, they're either going to really, really love it or they're really going to hate it. That's really what it comes down to. And personally, I love it. But I know a lot of people who can listen to a song that he would put out or something like that and just not really care for it at all. Because it's, you know, it's so much, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot to it, when you're listening to it. Trying to think here. So another one, it's another one actually by Devin Townsend called Why. This one is a weird one. So Devin wanted to create a song that was reminiscent of a Disney song, but not be a Disney song. And so he kind of made this song where it has like a Disney feel to it musically, but lyrically it's actually really like dark in a lot of ways. You're going to see a lot of my list is like progressive metal songs or progressive rock songs. So another one that I love is by a group called Avantasia, who put out a song called Farewell. And the interesting thing with the Avantasia storyline, and again, it's a concept album, everything that they do is all one big concept album, sort of like how Arion is. Their song, or their first album, the Metal Opera, that's what the album's called, deals with a guy who is a monk, and he has a stepsister that he left in the care of his family when he went to go become a monk. And his stepsister, after she grows older, ends up being accused of witchcraft, and they are trying to burn her at the stake. And so he finds out that this is happening, and he has to decide whether or not he's going to abandon his religion and everything that he's held dear, or if he's going to step in to try to defend his sister that he knows is not a witch and would never fall under that kind of a purview. And spoiler alert, he doesn't end up making it. And so in the process of everything that he goes through, he actually, it's weird how it happens in the story, but basically he gets transformed and transported into a different dimension, a different realm, called Avantasia, and he has to try to become like something different there and come to terms with everything that he's held dear and stuff from there. So actually, nope, they never did that test. They just immediately put her at the stake. Didn't give her any trial or anything at all. And that was one of his big problems. That's why he knew something was wrong. So it's an interesting song. Like the song Farewell in particular is really good. It almost sounds like a dwarf drinking song in some kind of ways. That's what my wife claims it sounds like to her too. But the song itself is really good. It's about like this feeling that you need to make a change within yourself to change the world, but it doesn't always work out, you know? But the concept of the album itself is one of kind of like redemption, because he's trying to find a way to bring his sister back to life within the realm of his abilities, and whether or not he succeeds or not, that's all part of the storyline. It's a really interesting one. It's a cool one. But yeah. So another, going back into like, outside of prog rock, again, weird, but I really love prog because, as I was discussing earlier, as somebody who loves to write, a lot of times progressive rock really taps into, that creativity, how do I want to put it? It taps into the storyteller perspective, you know, a lot more than what your average song does. So that's kind of like maybe one of the reasons why I gravitate towards it in a lot of ways. But another one that I really love, and this one is maybe a little bit of an underrated song. It did when it came out, got a little bit of like radio play, but I don't think that it got as much as it could have. It's weird. It's called Heart and Soul by a group called Tapao. And it's kind of like one of those kind of groovy, dancey kind of a songs. But it's actually one of the first songs, I think, that actually has a female pop artist doing a rap besides Blondie. Blondie is actually, I think, the first female ever to do rap as a popular music, back in the day with her song Rapture. But anyways, this song, Heart and Soul by Tapao, it's about, kind of like life after you've lost your love, and how do you move on from there, trying to find a new one, you know? It's a good one. Then another one, and I think this was here, is Falling to Pieces by Faith No More. This one came out in the 90s. And again, it kind of almost tells the story of my life. So it's kind of unfortunate because with the DMCA stuff, you know, I can't like play it on stream without getting into trouble. But I would recommend, you know, if you guys have never heard any of these songs before, please look them up. I think you would do yourself a good service by doing so, and seeing if it's something that you guys would get a kick out of and interest in. So yeah. And then, you know, music in general, to me, again, like one of the things that I love with it is the fact that when you listen to a song, you can feel a lot of different things, at least for most people. I'm definitely one of those people that I can feel the hits, you know, with the emotions when it comes to music. It's probably why, it's why I listen to music when I write, for instance. There are a lot of writers out there that don't listen to music when they write, but for me personally, I almost have to. It's like what I use to help me tap into that creative stuff, and to get it kind of moving and flowing a little bit. But I have to listen to things without lyrics, because if I listen to something with lyrics, it's going to throw me off. Like I'm going to end up writing, sort of to the tone of whatever the lyrics are in the song. Just one of them weird things you have to go through and endure. So for those of you guys just tuning in, welcome. I am Blind Dad Does, and tonight Blind Dad is doing, well, just discussing whatever happens to come to the mind. My name is Ira, and yes, I am legit blind. If you guys have any questions about anything, just, please ask. This is kind of like an Ask Me Anything session. Always. I'm an open book, so you guys are welcome to ask me anything that you desire.
It's so fabulous.
It is indeed fabulous. So, yeah, give me just a moment. I'm going to grab a little bit of hydration here and let my voice rest for a moment, and I'll be right back with you guys.
Incoming customer detected.
Keep your eyes open, boys.
We need to have a serious talk.
Keep your eyes open, boys, indeed. Yes. So I hope that everybody out there is having a really good night. It's been an interesting day here. We've done all kinds of weird talks. I've been on the streams here for almost 4 hours today. So definitely been going for a while. My voice is getting a little achy. But it's been a good one. I had a long walk earlier tonight, and it definitely energized me and got me thinking about a lot of things, up to and including like the weird place that we live. There are a lot of strange things that happen here, and it may be because we live like next door to a graveyard. You know what I mean? But we have a lot of weird things that happen around here, and so it is what it is, but we've had a pretty good night here. It's been kind of raining over the past couple of days, so my body is not at all happy with me. And lots of pain, but you either deal with it or you don't, right? That's sort of what it comes down to. And so I do fortunately have a high pain tolerance. It does serve me well. Maybe that's one of my mutant superpowers, is having a high pain tolerance, because boy, I definitely go through a lot. Having fibromyalgia, arthritis, keratoconus, all kinds of onuses and usses and everything. It's like kind of crazy. Oh goodness, that was a big sneeze, and I didn't want to do it on the microphone. I just saved your life. So, other mutant superpowers. Lazy boy. That is definitely one of mine, I think. The doughboy, shoving my sugary pastries into the face of evil, I think would be probably a good one for me too, as an ironic kind of a thing. The wonder trip, flailing arms and stumbling feet can definitely be a deterrent to crime when you're making them laugh too hard to be able to continue on with their crime spree. I think that, hey, that's an advantage, whatever it takes, right? Whatever it takes to make sure that they're not doing their deed would be a good thing, I guess. Yeah, I don't think I'd be the princess or something like that, where I'm just like standing there looking pretty. I'm not pretty by any means. No, sirree. No, not one of the pretty people. And I don't mind. I don't mind that at all. I like being my weird looking self. I have, my beardly goodness. My beardly goodness actually used to be a lot longer. And when the whole coronavirus thing struck, I had to shave it all off. It used to be down to my belly button, and I miss it, but I had to shave it all off because wearing the masks with the heavy beard, basically I was like wearing 5 masks because it would just all wrap up right in my nose. And that was more of a pain in the butt than it needed to be. So I decided to shave it, and just been letting it go ever since. But, I've got my battle scar gray hair, and, I'm an old fart here trying to talk to you guys about things that are weird, weird and uncommon, and maybe just to make you think a little bit. That's kind of my purpose. But either way, I think I am going to go ahead and hop off here and let my voice rest for the night. I am getting pretty tired. My voice is kind of weakening on me here, and I can feel it. So I think that I am going to go ahead and jump off here and sort of put a warm compress to my eyes and try to get them to stop doing the watering thing, because it is definitely causing a lot of intense pain on me today. So, but I do hope that you guys have enjoyed your time here. I've enjoyed my time here. Every moment that you guys spend with me, I consider as very precious to me. So I am glad that you are here, and that you have been here with me all this time. And yeah.
Oh, I love you. I love you.
Indeed I do. So until next time, keep safe out there. Have fun. Thank you so much as always for watching. And we'll talk to you again later.
Incoming customer detected.
Keep your eyes open, boys.